and welcome to Decorate It. My name is Mary, and this is Wes, and tonight's episode is episode 13. We're going to be talking about fade wraps tonight. I love a good fade. I cannot say that I do them often, like as far as the extended versions, like as that being the decorative wrap.
Like
I use
the big
them.
Mexican blanket style fades, or
Which Freddie, we'll get into that later, but Freddie kind of came up with that whole trend out on the West Coast. But I don't do like the long versions of the fade wraps. I do, typically when I do it, it's on my tie-offs or it's on my guide wraps or something like that. And I've only done it a handful of times for the most part because I find them aggravating. And the only reason why I find them aggravating is trying to keep the seam on the back straight. But there is a way to do it, and which actually Freddie said that he was going to try to get to the ICRBE. And I was like, please, by all means, come over, and I want to sit down and watch you do a fade so I could see how to keep your straightness, because I've seen his dirty side. You can't tell it's his dirty side.
it's not there.
It's not there, so it actually baffles my mind completely. We did have Southern, once again, contribute, I think about 50-something photos tonight.
So before we get into that, though, explain the difference between a fade wrap and a shade wrap.
Ooh, good point. Whenever I'm trying to explain this to students and stuff, is fading is contrasting colors, okay? Shading is typically running through the same color, so the same genre of color, but you might have 4 different versions of it.
So like orange to peach to...
More like you have a burgundy to a medium red to a light red to a bright red.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you're running through the same red.
Same family.
Same family of color, but you're going from light to dark.
Okay.
And it could be however many colors you want to do, but fades typically are different colors. Now, a lot of times, and you'll see it tonight, a lot of those fades still are going to run through some of the similar colors as well, but they still have this big contrast to them.
Okay. Now, is there anywhere that you could not use a fade wrap?
I would say no.
So you could put it in split grips and above the foregrip and use it on guide wraps and use it on under wraps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You could. It's above and beyond. It's one of those things where you can pretty much place it wherever you want to. But fade wraps are generally really nice looking. They're
I think they're cleaner than shades because you have that distinguishing color.
I mean, I could see that. You know, it's a personal opinion as to which one you're gonna like better or whatever. You know, I like both when they're executed correctly. A couple of mine, I got them to where it would. I think it was one actually. I'm staring at it right now, but like it went from black all the way to a yellow, and it reversed it from the yellow and went back out. And those particular style fades, they almost glow. It's almost like having like a light kind of behind them. But there's so many different styles of it, and we've got about 51 photos tonight. Let's take a look at what the Southern Rod Builders were doing. We're going to be starting off with Abby. So Abby's right here is a perfect example of a fade wrap, and she is going from I guess it's a teal color, brown, and then the yellow took over, and then she ended in that. That's a perfect example of a fade. You know, you start with like a single thread, and a lot of times the ratios of these are the same for me when I do my shades and fades is like a 1-3, 1-4, 1-10, depending on how long you're doing your shade. She did one right here. This is also Abby as well. Did a trim right in front of the real seat, going from blue to green. Another full-length wrap. If I remember the story correctly on this one, she actually did this fade that matched her reel that she got. And that reel is a fly reel. It's gorgeous. And it has every single one of these colors in it, like that magenta and that purple, the teal, the green.
I'll have to go back and look at that.
It's really pretty. Another one of Abby's. That one's it looks like teal going from a dark brown to like a gold.
Fade spiraling.
So Abby stepped up and she did a spiral fade with a dragon scale underneath of it. I want to zoom in on this.
Is that a dragon scale or is that just a spiral underneath the metallic?
It's a dragon scale style, but it's been modified, obviously.
Right.
Jim Treleake's has done a few of these as well. Of course, this could actually be an elongated. I can't tell if it's crossing or not, but it just looks like the entire thing is spiraled. But she did a fade in between that as well, going from black to green. Abby going from going from red to black. Very nice and elegantly done. Andy, that's another version of a fade. He's gone from the trim ring or his acrylic piece that he's put in the front of his cork grip and started with blue and then gone in, ends in the gold, and then he's got some a middle section and then it fades back out on the end. It's nicely done. Another one of Andy's. This one is going from that purple with some olive branch techniques into trim and then some more trims, and then he ends with the purple going into the gold and then reverses it back out and kind of repeats it on the other side.
And then the reverse of the olive branch at the other end.
Mm-hmm. I mean, looking at a wrap like this, you know, most consumers are not going to really think about the time spent in that.
No.
But that's a lot of time spent in that wrap, making sure everything like lines up and looks straight, and you're doing your thread counts and stuff. This one is Arthur Long's. I'm really glad that Arthur gave us an example of some of his work. He has some of the cleanest epoxy and glue jobs I've seen, but that's just a nicely done black to...
I like how that one appears to have the green kind of coming from the black, as though the black isn't actually thread.
Yeah, it looks like it's just appearing, like it's just there on the blank. Yep.
Like the green is just striped that way.
Mm-hmm. Which he also did a saw blade over there at the trim band before he got into the fade, but it's fading from the black to the green, so it looks really nice. And he ended it with just a single turn of green on the outside. Bill Goings. So he did a kind of fade for a tie off of his wrap that he did, and it's a spiral effect at that, which is a whole bunch of work planning into that as well. So both tie offs of this wrap are like a light purple to like a almost kind of, not really plum, like a medium purple, if you will. Another one of Bill Goings. This one is like I think he called it a cigar wrap, but he's got a dragon scale, and then he spiraled his fade of the browns going into white or silver.
Does that dragon scale go under the thread?
Mm-mm. So what it is,
separated?
it's spiraled apart, so the thread is
Gotcha.
filling in that empty spot.
Okay.
Yeah. The texture of that one almost looks like gold leaf instead of metallic thread on that dragon scale, but I
That
don't.
kind of sinks in and the
Yeah.
dragon scale thread comes up.
Mm-hmm. It's very nice. Bobby Wade, which for this one I got to zoom in for you guys to appreciate it because there's so much going on in his background. A spiral fade that he's done with blue and white
And silver.
thread. This is really pretty. I've actually tried to do these spiral wraps like this before, and I could never keep them. They're so simple to do, but the tension on it's so hard to get right to keep it from coming loose. And every time I'd get about like halfway through it, my tension would get screwed up. I've struggled with it. Now, granted, I've only tried it like 2 times, so I can't really say that, I suck at it. But it is one of those things that I realized that I was like, this might be a little harder than I anticipated. So when I see something executed like this that looks this nice, totally appreciate the work that went into it. Another one of Bobby Wade's. So this one, I do know that this one in particular, he watched that fire fade tutorial I did and put out on YouTube and also did live for Southern. And then he came back and did this, and I think he knocked it out the park.
Yeah, it looks good.
It is gorgeous. It's going from a red going all the way to the yellow in the middle going back out, and it is nicely done. Chris's, he's done his, first off, he's pulled in all 4 colors that I absolutely love, which is white, black, turquoise, and pink.
I immediately think bazooka when I see this.
Like a hot pink is where he's got it, but he's faded. He's put white trims on the edge of this, black fading into turquoise, which then fades into the pink in the middle, and he went with a center design in between and then reversed it back out. I think it looks so good. Just simple, clean, nicely done. Another one of Chris's. Another one that I think is super nice, super clean, looks good because it's fading from black to silver to a blue with a single or possibly 2-band trim of silver in the middle and then reversing back out from the blue to silver to black.
I like them more when they end in black on a black blank.
Yes, because then it looks like it just is there.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there. Dean Ryan, beautiful fade wrap. This one's black to purple to turquoise and reversing back out. And he actually put the logo on that turquoise big chunk in the middle, and this is in the split grip section, so it looks really nice.
I immediately think Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the colors they were.
Are.
Sorry. They're still...
They did disappear for a while.
I know, they're still around. Another one of Dean. So I actually really love this photo aesthetic that he did with this one just because of the lightning that's behind it. But he's done a wrap, and then he has a section where he's done trim bands and all this other stuff, and then he inserted the fade, which is going from that blue into white, I'm guessing. It doesn't look quite white, but I can't tell. And then reverses back out into the blue, and then goes into the wrap. So I thought the lightning background behind it was just fun. This is Freddie. This is who we were referring to earlier. So Freddie's from the West Coast, and Freddie actually does a lot of these Mexican blanket serapes is what it's called. And what he's done is he's taken the fade, and you can see in each of the trims of those different colors, and he's mimicked a Mexican blanket. And he's actually started doing this style, and he said that it's become a big trend over there for people to wrap this kind of stuff. So I was teasing him and saying, look at you, trendsetter. But, I mean, it's cool for people to put out something, and, you know, it came up with something, and then other people were like, oh, man, that's awesome. And then you have a bunch of people requesting it, and then it becomes a thing, you know. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is really cool. So there's quite a few in here from Freddie, and this is the gentleman that I want to, if he gets to the ICRBE, I want to sit down with, because I'm not kidding you guys. You could look at the ugly side of his wrap, and you would not even be able to tell you were looking at the dirty side. But this is a pink version, going from purple to pink and white, and it's just super pretty. This is another version of Freddie's, another Mexican blanket style with the fade happening in it. I mean, it's just pretty. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, you gotta like that kind of style of all those drastic colors in between. He's got mainly the blue, the white going into the dark blue, and then the dark green going into the yellow, and then in between he's got the blank kind of showing. Well, no. You know, he's got, I can't tell if that blank is burgundy. No, that's thread under there. He's got a decal, and then he's reversed it back out, going back into yellow, kind of a fire kind of fade as well. Like, they're just, to me, they're just fun. I love them. This is another one of Freddie's. This one is probably more on the simplistic side, or as far as color concepts concerned. You know, red, black, white, and a bunch of different little mini fades going on in between all of these. So he started right at where he's got his Turk's head, going white to red to black with a red and white trim, and then reversed that back out, and then has a black trim, and then reversed it. Like, it's a bunch of thread work. This one, I believe he called it the sunset one, but it's in the Mexican style blanket, serape, but it's in the sunset colors of like oranges, reds, and yellows. And I really like the rock aesthetic behind it. I think that makes for a good picture. And the sun is setting, so that actually makes it really cool. Yeah. Another example of Freddie's work. This is full on. If you guys go and look up a serape, which is SARAPE, or Mexican blanket, you'll be able to tell exactly where he got his inspiration from.
It kind of makes me think of a shaded fade.
It's a shaded fade. Yeah, I would call it a shaded fade. It's like a mix of both worlds, if you will.
Faded shade. Mm-hmm. Shaded fade.
I know there's been a few people over the past that have been like, there's no difference between the two. But as far as like teaching people to start stuff, to me, fading and shading are just slightly different, but they kind of are interchangeable. But when you go to teach somebody, fading to me is contrast versus the same colors. Right. It's another one of Freddie's as well. This is one of the only ones that I've seen him do kind of like a natural tones in. Now, granted, I haven't seen all of his work, but it's like copper to green with the dark green in the center, reverse back out, and then has like a kind of orangish tan where he's put the names and then trimmed out the ends. But it's another version of pink to purple to white, and you can just kind of see how those colors, especially where it goes from the purple to the white and then reverses back out, how it just kind of just automatically just lights up, you know.
It gives it that glow effect when you step back from it.
Yeah, I think that's what I like the most about the fade wraps. When they go into something and they reverse back out of it, it just glows, even without it trying to. And that's another version of Freddie's. Perfect example right there at the bottom. Even though he doesn't reverse it back out to the purple, you know, he starts with the purple, it goes to the white, puts pink trim in, and then reverses it out to pink. But it still has that glow effect to it. It's just the style he's figured out and has run with it. All right, Jared Taylor. Jared has done this really beautiful fade wrap going from browns to yellows and blues, and there might be some golds in there if we zoom in on this section. I wouldn't call it a gold, but it's probably more like a mustard yellow kind of thing. But he's done that section. He's put the the name of the gentleman in the middle and then reversed it back out on the end. This customer had this reel and wanted Jared to match to that reel. He's done his fade where it's gone from the dark green to a lighter green, into a yellow, going into the blue, going into a gray, into a goldish yellow, and then all of his guide wraps are also slightly different. And I thought, when I saw him do the original pictures of this, I thought, this is a really cool build, you know. And you don't see a whole lot of people mismatching guide wraps, you know.
Not many people are crazy enough.
Well, Alice will be, so they'll get to see that soon. And not a single guide on her is going to match. Another one of Jared's. So this is the one and only photo in the bunch because it was a different fade that he did. That is the dirty side of a wrap. Now, looking at it, I can see where his dirty is, but it's so minuscule, I wouldn't even notice it if I wasn't looking at the shine. Not to mention that my dirty sides, guys, I've got videos. I have one on YouTube. My dirty side spirals a little bit. I reset it, but it does move. And it's one of the hardest things in the world to keep that dirty side straight or not be noticeable when you're doing these things. So the fact that this is the dirty side, I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to stick that one in there. And the only reason why his made it in there, not Freddie's or anybody else that posted it, was just because that was different than what he contributed for the other ones. So, and this is by Jason No, and this is gorgeous.
Yep.
It's another what I would call a fire fade, but he's done multiple fades around the big fade. He's got the black trim band going into where the red goes the orange to the yellow with the trim in between, and then it reverses out. Then he resets with the black trim band, and then he does a very long fade going between the red, the orange, the yellow, and reverses it back out, and then reverses it on the other side. This is just a prime example of how you can take a concept and just expand upon it and just make it your own kind of style. You don't have to follow what anybody else is doing. You can go, hey, I like that little bit of it. Let me kind of use that for inspiration, and then just kind of take that and what I would call blow it out and do something else with it. Like another example of his stuff. Two completely different concepts. You've got one that's spiraling, and then one that is, I think that's the same one.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like the same one, just under epoxy.
Under epoxy. But you've got a spiral version of it where this one kind of reminds me of candy corn a little bit because of the white.
Yeah.
But I mean, candy corn doesn't have red in it, but the white just makes it stand out so much more. But it's the red to orange to yellow to white with black separating it. But it's a spiral fade. It's really cool. Another one of Jason's. This one's going from black to a darker red going into orange and yellow. He does a lot of these fires apparently, but he's got it matched up to that lure. It's literally right on point for the colors that's on that lure.
Yeah.
Jim Bowers, he has done a fade over a guide wrap. And he's done black to gold and then reversed it back out to black. One of the hardest things in the world to do is to do this on a guide wrap as an over wrap because of how it goes up the foot and keeping it straight. And then here comes Jim Bowers in again with this chaos of awesomeness.
Is that a diamond or a maze? I can't tell.
I do believe that's a maze. That's a maze. But then he's gone and done also the fade between all those colors on his over wraps as well. Just an insane amount of time spent in that one guide wrap. Another one of his versions where he's done black and gold. It's a side view of it. It may be a diamond. It could be a maze again. But then a whole lot of in and outs of the black to gold. He's done multiple versions of it. Almost 1, 2, 3, 4 reverse in, reverse outs of the fade. Another one in Jim Bowers where he's put a heart under the guide frame and then done a pink and black fade for the over wrap.
That makes me think of watermelon bubble gum.
It kind of does because he's got the green around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the heart goes from, heart has the black background, white to the green, and then white, green, and then it closes. But the over wrap is pink and black. It looks good. It's cute. Koi View. This is the first time I've seen somebody do an abstract wrap with a fade in it. First time I've seen this. Now, does that mean that's the only time that it's been done? Probably not. But it is the first time that I've seen it personally. But he's done a fade wrap with an abstract, and it looks so good. And the colors of this are the black and a turquoise going into that kind of neon green, yellow. It's so pretty. Hey, look, there's me. So this was the very first time, I'm going to be honest, this is back in 2018, and we had just done our first set of shaded grips that were black and white, and our shade wasn't as exact as some others can be, and so I matched the tie-offs of the shade to the exact calculations that were the same size as the grip to kind of blend it all together, and this was not, I mean, I kind of like the funkiness that is this, but this is not a true like 1-to-2 or like 1-to-4 ratio. The sizes increases and decreases, but you still get the fade effect from it. Another one of mine, which this is why I brought up that point where I really hate myself whenever I come up with these cool ideas. So I ended up doing a fade wrap with a trim in between for a sugar skull. And all of the sugar skulls have that same kind of design on their wraps, but I went from the lime green going into, it's kind of turquoise. It's in between turquoise and like that kind of royal blue going into black, and then reversed it back out. And it just literally looks like it's just popping off of it. But all the guide wraps on the sugar skulls, all three of them have the same style wrap on them with a black trim at the end because I put polka dots on them. Tie off on my pink sugar skull. You can see I'm going from the yellow to the pink to the black with between, and then reversing it back out. And then Alice. So let me shrink Alice down a little bit. So you can see the Cheshire cat for the foregrip hanging out in there. And I have that chaos of the rabbit hole that I put on there, and then a white to black fade going into it because I wanted it to look like the hole opened up kind of thing. So two of my examples have been black and white, and the other ones have just been matching the sugar skulls. And then this one is the one that has become known as the fire fade. And I'm going to be honest, it took me about 4 different versions of trying to do this wrap to get it right. I thoroughly enjoy it. I look at it every day because it's on a PVC piece of sample, just a demo. But the ugly side is very ugly. I have a lot of zigzags back there. I'm just going to be honest. But it is definitely a really pretty fire color, if you will. And then Matt, he's got a silver going into purple, going into black fade, which is nice, subtle, nicely done colors with the saw blade in the middle. Michael Ward, this is what I was talking about. A lot of people like that green going into the yellow color. And he's put some nice black and white contrasting olive branches in the middle under that guide wrap. Looks really nice. This is also on the same rod, but this is the wrap that's in front of his grip that he's done as well. Nice little 2 sections of olive branches, kind of broke up the middle with black and white, and then that dark green going into that. I'm going to guess that's probably yellow and not really like the light or the neon green, because the neon green has a tint to it. Steve Wan, another gentleman who does some awesome fade wraps. He's gone from like a teal kind of color into white with a whole bunch of grays and just right back out. This is just pretty. And my brain honestly cannot grasp the concept of doing all these different like inlays and trim bands and stuff. Another one is Steve Wan's. This one literally is really pretty. Using the basic colors of black, white, and blue with a little bit of charcoal thrown in there. It's a great example of that fade just kind of poof popping out, especially when you go from the dark to the light. I think that's the best look in my opinion, where it goes from the dark on the outside into light in the middle and then reverses back out, because that's what makes it kind of just lift off the rod, if you will. Another one of Steve's in the third photo that he's done this nice little black to teal fade for this rod. Really nice, really clean. Another one of Steve's. He's gone from light to dark and then reversed it back out again. So he's proved me wrong that it looks good both ways. So
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, it's already like a nope, Mary, you're wrong. Like that's a good looking. I think that color combination, just the simple colors like red, black, and white, that light green or even the lime green or yellow to a green to a black.
The neon greens and yellows.
You know, that turquoise and pink to black. Like those kind of colors look really well on these things as long as you're figuring out what count of thread you have. And then we have Tim Kip, which I need to zoom in on this for you guys to be able to appreciate it, because there is a lot
Holy saw blade, Batman.
happening on this rod. And when he posted it, I said, wow, because look at all of the saw blades and the inlays and the fade. This is a ton of work. Like a ton of work. And this looks to be at least 12 inches long, probably longer than that. I can't really tell from the photo, but that's a long wrap. But he's done, everything is in red, white, and blue. Reminds me of the flag. I don't know if that's what he was going for. But so many saw blades. So many olive branches. He's got sections of the olive branches that look like they're just like dots in between them. Like, just keep posting, Tim. That's cool. And our last photo of the night is Vic Nava, who has done a white to blue to orange fade and then reversed back out, which is matching some custom EVA grips, it looks like, on the backside as well. So very nicely done. Some great examples of some stuff that can be done by some awesome builders. Like, it's like I said, it's one of the reasons why we post this stuff and we, ask for, hey, you guys got some photos of this stuff, because y'all would have seen like 4 or 5 versions of what Mary has done, but it's not the complete elaborate style of things that you can be taking that little concept and just blown up. It's taking somebody's idea, or even taking a concept or a style and expanding upon it in your own version that makes it amazing. And fade wraps are one of those. The tricky side is the back side, but they're really easy to do. It's mainly a thread count kind of thing, or ratio. Like, for those that take any of my classes or listen to me talk about decorative wraps and stuff, when I'm talking about shading and how I use, like, 10 different colors of the same blue, and I'm using a 3-to-1 ratio, like for every one thread, I'm putting in 3 threads of a different color. And I have these ratio charts, and I'm not even going to try to sit here and explain it to you without having a visual aid, because it's confusing as crap. But it's just having a chart and writing it down, and you literally are just counting threads like that. I have my notebook has all of the thread counts that I used for every single guide wrap I did for the sugar skulls.
Which notebook?
I have like 20, but my main notebook, the one that's sitting right over there, that has all of my like business stuff and my personal builds in, not my customers' builds. Those are all up there. But there is so much that can be done with them, and you can put these fade wraps, split grips, you can use them just as trims, you can use them as the under wrap for guides, you can do the over wrap for guides if you feel like sitting there for a while and focusing on that.
You could make the guide wrap coincide with the under wrap and look like it never stops.
Who did that? Nuno did that. He's got a couple in the inspirations book that he's got this kind of flow that goes from the over, like, to the under wrap to the, and it's like, the math side of that is what gets me, because I'm going, how'd you plan that, I get stumped on it. There's so much that can be done with the fade wraps that, you don't really have to. You can start with the typical fade for the decorative wrap. You can go into the split, under wraps, over wraps, the peekaboo and the real seat. You can even take that fade concept, and even though it's not a wrap, but you could put it into the grips. I've done a fade with cork before.
Yep.
I've done one fade back when I was learning how to use the bandsaw. We just could not get accurate cuts on the bandsaw we had at that point in time for anything smaller than like 5 millimeters. So they weren't like the prettiest fades, but they looked okay. So I'm actually would be eager to try a different one now that I can get more exact cuts on the one I've got now. So a lot of stuff can be done. But anyways, without further ado, we want to talk about our product of the night.
That helps with fade wraps.
That does help with fade wraps. If Mary, this is the problem, Mary did not have this during the time that she was working on any of the fades that she's ever done. It was all by hand, all on the thread carriage, all of that stuff, right? The bobbins that I ordered didn't get here until after I finished my last thread wrap for the fades, and I was like, wait, show up. But these particular ones are by CRB, and it is the thread bobbins that will attach to your rod. Now, I don't own these specific ones, but once I saw them tonight, because I ordered the large bobbins, thinking that the Madura spools might fit into them because they were large. They don't fit into them. These will actually connect to your rod so that your line stays straight. Look at that. That's how to fix that seam in the back. I thought, well, now I need to order 10 just in case. They are $14.95 a piece, which to me is not a big deal. Granted, obviously you order 10, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
It is.
But having one
Or
would
two.
help especially if you're just using like 2 colors, because then you could keep pulling up the other thread in order to get a straight line instead of having it wrap sideways and going around the blank like most of ours do. I want to give a big shout out to Foundation Outdoor Group. One, for being an amazing company. They have all of the CRB with American Tackle, MHX, Pro Products, Mudhole, all that products. Thank you. All under one roof. And they also do amazing in-person classes between teaching other people in high school. It's like they're traveling all the time, teaching across the country.
Set up classes for your schools and get with the school districts to be able to have these classes in the school program.
Yep. And they also have online classes that you can learn from too, so that if you can't travel or they're not coming towards you, you can sit down on a Zoom call and learn how to build a rod and go over certain types of stuff as well. I think it's great that they have connected to one, being in person and also online for those that can't travel, because everybody gets basically a win out of that situation. Also, their live videos that Mudhole puts out.
There's one coming up this week.
It might be this week. I know they do once a month, and it's always an amazing amount of information that you can learn from them. And actually, there is a live video that Mudhole has posted. It was sometime, I believe it was last year. It's called Bobbin and Weaving, and they talk about how to use the thread bobbins on the live video. You can watch Hunter and Chris do thread bobbins and how to use them properly, while also being entertained by their comedy that they go back and forth with. Kind of like me and Wes, because they also play digs and stuff at themselves, and just basically creating a strong support system within the community, because they are doing this traveling, they are doing the live videos, they are making sure that everybody's got top quality products, and trying to have that customer service and stuff. It's great to work for a group that is just one of the top leaders in the nation as far as rod building components, and trying to educate and just getting the word out there. So thank you, Foundation Outdoor Group. We do appreciate all the support we get, and we obviously really appreciate all the support you give the community as well. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you the next time. Next episode will be out in 2 weeks, and we will talk later. Bye.